Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I am super excited to have today Sarah Lynn Thomas and Danny Yepez. So for those of you who aren't familiar with them, Danny and Sarah are co-leaders of Behold Retreats, having spent the last decade guiding hundreds of professional athletes, entrepreneurs, and conscious leaders through high-end plant medicine retreats in Costa Rica, Mexico, and Portugal. You may have seen them on the 3-part Netflix special Enigma that I checked out last night that follows Superbowl-winning NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers sharing his advocacy for ayahuasca, a psychedelic brew. Their work blends ancient ceremony with modern science, guiding people through safe, grounded plant medicine journeys that build resilience, clarity, and lasting transformation. Welcome to the show, Danny and Sarah. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having us. It is an honor to be here talking with you.
Thanks you so much. We're excited to be here. And this, I love the name of your podcast here, which is Raise the Vibe. And I think it's really important in today's world to keep that vibe alive and raised. So thank you for that.
It really is. And thank you both for the work that you're doing in the world to help raise that vibe. And to, I think, as people come to you, like raise their consciousness, raise their vibration as they go through the process with your work. So I want to dive into each of you just to start off our conversation. What was it that led the both of you to doing the work that you're doing today?
You first.
So for me, it's I landed in this work by mere Gump. I like to call it Gump because it's like Forrest Gump. He never planned anything, yet everything came perfectly for him. But in reality, I discovered depression in my life for the first time. And this came from a separation and a divorce after 20 years and ultimately encountered that. And after coming out of that depression state, I come from a background that was anti-pills, anti-drugs, went to military school when I was a kid. So it was really, I always had a high vibration in my life. I really had never hidden that low part in my life. And I had no empathy for people with depression. So almost would dismiss it very easily, until it came knocking on my door. Then I had a friend on a life path that was already on the plant medicine side of things. And he's the one that kind of guided me and directed me to full trust. I had no idea of anything around plant medicine. And this is a little over 16 years ago now. And it became something quite unequivocal in my life. And 1 year sabbatical after doing ayahuasca became a 10-year exploration of just learning everything. The curiosity was so great. And of course, it took me on a road of never-ending quest to learn as much as I can around everything related to entheogenic plant medicines. And of course, all these years later, here I am today, so excited to be helping and guiding others through this life path.
Nice. How about you, Sarah?
I would say the opposite of Danny. I like the Gump. I would say mine, he's frequently called me Alice in Wonderland. I've never said it myself, but I think that was my path. It was just kind of Alice in Wonderland style, which was try this. That sounds amazing. There's something you could eat that makes the world look like a rainbow. How do I get some? Like it just was more Alice in Wonderland. And then also through Alice in Wonderland, she kind of hit something. Oh, this got a little wonky. Oh, this is hard. Oh, this is challenging. And so I think that's how it transitioned from curiosity to helping others, to say this is really incredible and powerful and helpful, both in healing and expansion and questioning, but still being a positive human being. And so that's where the shift to start helping others through this came from.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing your stories. And what was it that brought you to doing retreats, to that place where you're thinking, gosh, I want to share this with the world. How can I bring other people to this, healing, to this medicine? What is it that I can do maybe to help make the world a better place? Tell me about how you guys became co-CEOs of Behold Retreats.
Yeah, I think both of us had an experience where the first time I did ayahuasca, for example, I was in the jungle, in the middle of nowhere. In fact, if I wanted to leave, I wouldn't know what direction to walk. And I recognized that people need more support ahead of time. during and after. And so that was some of the support that I wanted to provide was let's prepare people. And it's interesting, the name, maybe we'll dive into this, the raise the vibration. Half of the tools that I give for ceremony is how to raise their vibration to meet the medicine in a high vibration.
Nice.
So that's what made me more conscious into this path to help others.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time, we're making the world a better place. I really think about and devote to the ripple effect. Like I know that when I do the work or Danny does the work, you do the work. When we do the work, we become better partners, better parents, better kids, better colleagues, better coaches, therapists, all of the things. And so every time somebody comes, one person comes and one person leaves, I know it's not just helping that one person. It is helping every person that they touch. And so we're all of us are making the world a better place.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say in my case, that 10-year sabbatical was a long road for me where I garnished so much information. And, just like I'm going to revert back to good old Forrest Gump, because I made like Forrest Gump walking on the road, and he just makes it stop and says, you know what, I'm done walking, I'm done stopping. And I think I recognized this 10-year sabbatical, recognizing that I couldn't just be an observer anymore, that I had to be an active participant in making changes and making differences, that I can't just continue to observe what was taking place on this planet, especially in my case, I was participating in other ceremonies and maybe retreats of sorts, but I was observing things that for me didn't sit right, didn't feel right. And it felt like it just needed some proper structure and create a better container for people to really be safeguarding this, because it's highly important, right? We take very seriously what we do, and the people entrust their mind, their body, and their spirit into the work that they step into and the containers that they come in. So it really became something for me that I wanted to impact as many people as I could without necessarily having to deal with the masses. Right? It was like, how can I really impact that one individual that was already an influencer in his own community, and he, by his impact, can then replicate that onto others. And of course, we started designing these incredible containers that really hit a really chord with a beautiful people that were recognizing the value of the container and the space in which we were holding them. And of course, the transformation that we got to witness is our daily reward in this line of work.
Nice. I like that you brought up that topic, because I've heard several stories from several different people and had partners who have gone through the ayahuasca experience, and they're different stories. They come with like, this happened, then that happened, and some are more involved than others. So talk about the kind of container that you both create in your retreats and why that's important to you.
Yeah. So for me, and experientially for myself, and then for the hundreds, thousands of humans that we have worked with, we know that fundamentally the safer that we are and the safer that we feel. So there's two things: one, that you actually are safe and that you feel safe. The deeper that we can go in life and in ceremony. And so for us, it's critical that we create a very safe container so that people can dive very deep. And that's also why we do 2 to 3 ceremonies per retreat. And so that trust, it's there from the moment they connect with us, but then it builds, right? You build with trust, you build with the medicine, you build with the ceremony space, with yourself even. And so that is the heavy work that we do with people before the retreat even starts, and then as the retreat begins. And then that preparing for ceremony, to make sure that we get the most out of it, to make sure that the challenges that may come up, we are confident to face them and to move through, to potentially even let go of things forever, to connect with someone or our own spirit. Then the next step is to process that, what happened, and how can we integrate that into our life. And so then that's where we spend a lot of the time after ceremonies. And then the most important time, that's the difference between an experience being really profound and an experience changing your life. And really, you're changing your life. But that's the difference that we work on. Anyone can go blow their mind with psychedelics, but we want to have it really sink into somebody's core, and then they start walking a path that is healthy for them.
Nice. Danny, do you have anything to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, I started initially working with transformational leaders from around the world, and um, I had the design that was in place back then was a design that was I started with men, and it was a very strong design, meaning very enduring and strong. Um,
Barefoot in the woods.
Barefoot in the woods, and it was like very
I wanted to go.
bravado style of it. But recognized after that, there was not many people were going to be able. I wasn't going to be able to really help an enormous amount of people that kind of wouldn't fit into that, and we kind of looked into making a space where we call it a cloud, where people could like fall into a cloud and then be nested into and then fall right into another cloud. So creating what Sarah said, and Sarah was fundamentally important in creating what today is called the guided inside retreat that allows us to kind of, put a right structure where people have comfort. They feel that, they don't have to go through the hardship of trying to discover things in their lives, but they can really step into a place where they feel trusted and an environment that has that family feel. So that really has been the staple of our retreats, is fallen into this beautiful design that we've been proud and holding on to.
Yeah, I guess as one of the things that Behold Retreats is different, and all of the ways are amazing. Almost all of the ways are amazing. What distinguishes us is we have very small groups, and so 8 to 10 people, 11 people max. And then we do make sure that outside of ceremony is very comfortable. So that, say you went through a challenging night, when you're done, you get a warm shower. You get to go into a space that you feel like you can center your nervous system again. You feel comfortable. You can turn on the AC and rest and relax. And I do think that there's something very special to going to the jungle, and we recommend that. But some people need that first physical safety and comfort for their first times to go into ceremony, and sometimes even their second and third times. But that is the space that we create.
And I think we've also fallen into this very interesting spot where we're not clinical, right? But we're not jungly in the hardship of the deep forest kind of thing. So we have that middle ground aspect that really feels good for people and allows for a lot more people to be considering this type of activity.
And our retreats, they're still the traditional retreats. We hold traditional retreats, traditional ceremonies, pardon me. And then outside of ceremonies, we really take good care of our body, our mind, and our spirit so that we can go into another deep work within the ceremony space.
Nice. That sounds wonderful. And I like the idea of having small container. The last sacred medicine journey that I did was with psilocybin, and what is in a small container and very cared for, and had pre and aftercare along with it. And I have still hold a lot of gratitude for that space and the people that I got to journey with. And it was very profound. You do more than just ayahuasca. So tell a little bit about the different plant medicines that you do, and what their different benefits are for the individual.
Yeah. So our 3 primary medicines, although we work with some other ones as well. Our primary ones is ayahuasca, of course, and with that we work with different traditions depending on which country people get to choose, which makes it quite interesting, because if you want to expand in this area, you can visit our Portugal location, and there we work with the Shipibo tradition. You can go to Costa Rica, and it's more the Yahe Colombian tradition, and Mexico. And so it really gives a variation of people. People get to choose almost the tradition they want to learn from or follow. Then we work with psilocybin, and psilocybin, we have a very particular design where we one of our 3 ceremonies is the deep dive, is what we call psilohuasca. And it's a psilohuasca because we use the MAOA inhibitor of the ayahuasca vine itself, the powdered raw material, to be able to create the MAOA inhibitor to allow for a really true deep dive within the medicine. Psilocybin is becoming quite readily available everywhere, but to have a space where people really feel comfortable and guided to deep dive in is important, and that's important to us as well. So creating the right alchemy in the body to allow people to go into that deep heroic dose is really important, and that's what psilocybin does. And then We also work with the 5-MeO-DMT molecule or compound, which is bufo, the bufo alfarius toad. And that, of course, is described as when you're ready to die, reborn, and meet your creator. That's a 5-MeO peak experience that has a lot to say about it.
That sounds intense. So as a healer, I've had people come off a retreat with no aftercare, no integration, and having had this experience where the psychic doors were blown wide open and they're really struggling and find themselves in a state of fear whenever anything starts to feel like something similar to maybe the beginning of a trip. It causes anxiety, can cause panic attack. How do you manage aftercare and integration? Because I think that I want to bring forward that this is an important component of the process. And I like it that you both integrate after your ceremonies. So talk a little bit about how you care for the people who come and sit in your containers.
First, I'm happy to hear that they were connected to you so that they got to come to you and say, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me? And so that one's huge. We offer a 7-week program. And so what we would love to see people do is sign up for 3 weeks of coaching or therapy ahead of time, 1 week on site, and then 3 weeks afterwards. It's not something that is a requirement, just strongly encouraged because some people already have their coach and their therapist. And so then we can share some information of what may be helpful. If their therapist or coach has had plant medicine experience, that's incredible. So it's really beautiful that you know how to help people, right? Sometimes when coaches or therapists don't have an experience with plant medicine, their client may come to them and say, I had this experience. And they're saying, well, you know, that isn't real. And so that isn't a helpful thing to hear from somebody who went through something that was real, that felt very real. And so first, just to even have to go through that stumbling block with a coach or therapist that doesn't have that direct experience. And so I love talking with you. I love knowing that you're out there helping your clients and future clients as well. And so we are always available from before. We have a preparation program. Even if they don't take the coaching, we have the most incredible guest services team that helps with dieta, helps preparation. And then again, we're on site. And then post, we also follow up with one-on-ones. And then we offer group sessions for forever, for as long as people want to participate. And then we stay connected. We check on people. We frequently hear back from them, how they're doing, and then connect them with coaches. If many people are like me, which you don't think you need help until you need it. And then, okay, you're right. I should have gotten some coaching. Could I connect with somebody?
I also like to add that there's an important component here, which is ultimately the aspect when people sign up. We try to curate the right room in the right space for people. So there's a process of onboarding someone that is considering wanting to come to one of our retreats. So there's a selection process, there's a clinical process, and of course, for those that are not necessarily ready yet, then there's a guidance that's taken place till their readiness is there. And then once that group is curated, which is an amazing experience when people get to bond together in a week-long ceremony, and then that is quite powerful. So I think for us to curate the right humans that are really ready to step into the work is a very critical component. And like Sarah says, once a month we offer monthly integration calls that people can join at any time, whether you had a retreat with us 6 years ago or had it last month. They're always welcome to come to these free integration calls that we provide.
That's amazing. Yeah, thank you for doing that. Because the people that I work with who have had that experience, it's difficult. And I'm glad that I can be present. I'm glad that you have referrals, for people who work with you. I'm glad that I have a therapist that I can refer to. I think it's important to, you're speaking to that team aspect that comes into where it's not just like, I have this one person that can help me. It becomes like, who is my healing team? Who's on my healing team, and how can they best support and serve me? And then beyond like me as an energy healer or a therapist you may refer to or something like that. Like, who are the individuals in our lives who would understand us and who would be able to support us in a larger way, in a larger context when we're experiencing something like this? Because a lot of things can be triggered in that space, and who's going to be there afterwards, that's going to be a soft place for you to fall, who's going to be there and understand you and support you 100% fully, and not, like you said, Sarah, doubt or say, that experience wasn't real or something like that. You really need somebody to be there who's honestly had that experience and can help you walk through it if you do, open doors to the unknown, or, have something triggered, that you didn't realize that you were carrying from childhood or something like that. It's important to have that support.
Yeah. We even, we take this work very seriously, if you can't tell. Before people join, we make them sign agreements. And so we have them sign agreements of what they will do before retreat. We have agreements during retreat for their safety, the safety of everyone else there, and including our team. And then we have them sign agreements for post-retreat. And one of them is that they'll continue the dieta for a certain period of time. And the second one is that we make them sign it. They will ask for help if they need it.
That's awesome.
And we're there for them. Yeah.
Also, I think we work really well with our guest services department, which is probably the best liaison that we have with either energy workers such as yourself or therapists and coaches, that we interconnect with them to really kind of make that transition between their experience and, of course, the follow-up and follow-through with who they're working with. So kind of making sure that we're all together as a team working in the safeguard of this human being.
Nice. That's beautiful. Let's dive a little bit into Behold Retreats, what's your process? And then I want to get into Mother Aya and what she can offer us.
I'll start with the process. The first call, the guardian.
Started. Yeah.
So, when people are attracted to us, they reach out and they speak with our guardian. This would be somebody that helps somebody determine a full yes or full no, or a not now, as Danny mentioned, and then lays the groundwork for a commitment on their side. And so this is a reciprocal work. If anyone is ever looking for plant medicine experience, if it ever feels like a come on down and see what happens, that's a little pink flag. Like, it should feel like you are applying for something, and you should feel trustworthy with us, and we need to feel confident in you. It's a back and forth decision that we're making together. And then after the invitation is sent and accepted, it moves to our guest services that starts helping somebody prepare for the experience. And so that would include the dieta, which includes physically what we eat and what we consume and what we drink, as well as the social medias that we're looking at to be more conscious. In fact, to raise your vibration. What are things that are lowering our vibration, and what are things that are raising our vibration? And start really taking good care of yourself. I'll take a little pause right here to say this has only happened one time, but almost everybody that comes takes this very seriously. One person took it very seriously, including the dieta. He went from a highly processed life, not sleeping well, all of the things. And a couple weeks before his retreat, he says, I've never felt this good in my life. I have routine, I have schedule. He's like, I don't want to change anything. I don't even want to take a trip right now. He's like, I know that I had this commitment, and it was wild to us. But when people shift that big and they know what it feels like to be healthy, you want to keep going on that path. And so we offer this guidance to people. And then they come and they meet us, they meet our team, and we start the one-on-one conversations. And then we go into our group where we talk about, here is the way in which you can prepare for ceremony. And so there's a little hint. This is also preparation tools for life. Like, what we do in life is what we do in ceremony. Like, the number one tool is our breath, gratitude. And we go through a list of about 15, 20 things. And then we leave them. If you forget everything, here are 3 things don't forget in ceremony so that they feel great. And we do 2 or 3 ceremonies. And so we go in to ceremony, we have that experience. And then the next day we move into processing that experience. Some things are crystal clear, and then some things aren't crystal clear. This is visionary medicine. Psychedelic, it is a psychedelic technically, but it is visionary, right? And so it's like, what was this? What did that mean? And so the processing of it. And then some people are like, I threw out all my tools. I'm like, okay, we're going to go practice again tonight. And so you learn some things in that. When life is a practice, ceremony is a practice. We go in and we sit in ceremony again and we process again. And then we start that integration. How do we start integrating the things that you learned, the things that you felt, the vibration that you experienced? How can you bring that into your life in a very healthy and balanced way? And then we close out retreat and we start into those integration, the one-on-one calls afterwards and the group calls and the check-ins.
Nice.
And every once in a while, we call it the guidance side because we sincerely believe that you have all the answers. Now, a helping hand, we all need that every once in a while. We also have the experience that some people just need ayahuasca one time and that's it. They use other paths and other medicines or non-medicines to continue. So that could be maybe microdosing psilocybin, breath work. Having a daily routine is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is a morning routine. I'm going to treat myself well every morning, things like that. And so that I would say is the process. I'll let you answer the second part of the question, which is specific to ayahuasca. What can we expect is a big word, but
I think that people get a lot more than what they sign up for without even realizing. And it's beautiful to witness that for us. People come to us and the first thing is once that switch is made in the mind that they're ready to come into this and step into this, that the whole change of the dieta starts to change their metabolism, their psyche, and all of these things start to take place. The actual healing starts to take place before they even arrive. And it's beautiful to see for us at least to witness when they're coming in and, they're coming in from such a fast-paced life and their cells are vibrating at this level. And by the time they leave, their cells are just flowing at this level. You could see their facial expressions, then the micro muscles in the face, how they just relax all of a sudden from all the stress release. And all of a sudden it's just a completely different facial look and different aura that is vibrating. Their whole energetic field has completely changed by the time they leave. And of course, when we're stepping into Mother Ayahuasca is really, the profoundness that comes into it. And it's beautiful because, again, as I was saying, people sometimes don't recognize the importance of the work because the work is even ancestral. It's part of the lineage that they're healing. I often tell guests that, are you recognizing that you are the first person in your lineage that has stopped to do the inner work, to stop in for 1 second to actually heal and do this work for yourself? And that is impactful at a quantum level where it just magnifies into your DNA and the lineage that continues on through. So there's a lot more than people realize what they get out of this when they do come. And of course, we manage two verticals. We have the area of healing and expansion, right? So depending on people, which one they're signing for, sometimes they get both, of course. So it's a lot that they're able to obtain when they come through the process. And of course, the knowledge and the wisdom, the technology of Mother Ayahuasca is immense in and of itself. And it's very profound what it can provide you, not only the resolutions and issues of your own life and relations with yourself, your spirit, your mind, the food you eat, the nature itself, but ultimately resolving in all those relations is what really it's all about. And so there's a beautiful aspect of change and transformation that takes place.
Nice. Thank you for sharing all of that. I want to go a little bit deeper in experience, especially for our listeners who haven't had the experience yet. Like, what are the opportunities and possibilities that can present themselves in an ayahuasca journey?
So ayahuasca works with different humans in every different way, but I'll share some commonalities. A lot of people come in with some trauma, perhaps from childhood, teenagehood, any time in our life we can receive or go through a traumatic event. And depending on that age is how our body and our mind started wiring or creating shields to protect us. And fast forward, now they're no longer serving us, or now we have patterns that aren't healthy for us. And in the end, I believe if we're not fully loving because of some sort of shield or block or mask, then it is our job to release that block, to take off that mask, to love fully. And so That is, I think, some of the most beautiful work that can happen in ceremony is to move through those experiences and release those blocks. And ayahuasca works in incredible ways, and not what you want, but what you need. And so sometimes that could look like you move through an experience and you face it and it's challenging, and then you have the opportunity to let go of it forever. And sometimes you don't have to relive it. It might come through a physical experience of maybe shaking. I shake during ceremony and it feels really good. It's like a vibration. And sometimes it's through purging. And we might not know exactly what it is. We didn't have to relive anything. And then we just feel better. And so both things can happen in ceremony. We're humans and we want our humans want consciously to know what happened. We'd rather be drugged through the mud if we know what happened than 1 week feel better. And so sometimes I joke with people, I'm like, do you want me to drag you through the mud? You don't have to relive it. You can just go through. It's a medicine. You can just take the medicine, move through it, and then feel better. And so those are a couple of the things on the healing side, is just cleaning and processing. And also on the healing side, ayahuasca has this beautiful way of helping us move from our mind, our intellect, into our heart. So intellectually, I know that hurt people hurt people. I can have compassion for anyone, especially if I don't know them or it didn't directly affect me or someone I love. I can have compassion for the worst thing. That doesn't mean I don't think it shouldn't be punished or things like that, but intellectually, I can get that. If it gets close to me now, it's harder. It's harder for me to have compassion. Ayahuasca has a way of giving a perspective and an open heart where we can have compassion and then forgive perhaps what we thought was unforgivable. And most of the time, this is somebody else. Some people are needing to forgive themselves. And so this is something that is one of the most common things that happen in ayahuasca, is a pain that we have held, a forgiveness that we haven't given, a perspective that we haven't been able to even see, that comes up in ceremony. That I would say is on the healing side. On the expansion side, which is the exciting side, this is really where there's moments in ceremony where I'm like, my mind is getting rewired right now. What do I want to do? What do I want to manifest? What do I want to pull into this lifetime? And so that's where it gets really exciting and fun and energetic and high vibrational.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say?
I mean, we're one of the things we're doing with this, with these ancient plant medicines, because there's nothing new that we're working with here. It's been around for millennia, and it's something that now it's popularizing, coming out of the taboo little box into the Western world, and people are starting to recognize something that has been modalities that have been practiced for many, many years. So the ability for us to tap into these entheogenic plant medicines to enter into an altered state of consciousness is what you're experiencing. And one of the things, and of course, we've been talking to ayahuasca, but the ego dissolution, which could happen with ayahuasca, but most definitely with 5-MeO DMT, with the Bufo experience, is the ego dissolution, that dissolvement of that social construct of who you think you are, all of a sudden dissipates and disappears into nothing, and you flip right into oneness with source, with God. And that level of experience is huge, because in and of itself, it's transformative when you're able to kind of like wipe out that default mode in the brain and reset everything. And then you come out of that with a perception and clarity of like, I just met God and I now fully understand everything. And that's the beautiful part about that medicine. And it's really, it's a 20, 30, 40-minute experience, but it is timeless when you're in it and quite profound. So we love working with entheogens and the different aspects of these plant teachers and healers that bring so much knowledge and wisdom and love and intention to it.
I love that you brought that up to the consciousness aspect of it too. And, really that separation dissolving, because I think that that's an important thing that's really happening with the onset of, plant medicines being more accessible to everybody, is that it's not just, one person here, one person there having an awakening experience. A larger awakening is happening, right now on the planet. And I think that plant medicine is playing a huge role in that. I have heard the counter that with the West kind of stepping in, that I've heard rumors of the medicines kind of pushing back a little bit. Is that true? Or is that something maybe someone has experienced themselves and is kind of projecting on, the plant medicine community? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
We probably both have thoughts on this. So I always like to look at both sides and understand both sides. So, for example, one thing that has come up recently with Iboga, like there's news of the United States wanting to start connecting people with this experience. That was the most lovely way I could think of saying that. And the people that hold these medicines from their tradition is saying, hey, we kind of saw what happened with ayahuasca. We saw what happened with some other medicines. And so we want to hold on to our tradition, and we want to have reciprocity for that and compensation. And so they're starting to push on that effort. And I think everyone has a right to share their tradition and push for the reciprocity of that, and to share their tradition. Because on the other side is I think that clinical trials with psilocybin is incredible. I think what they're doing for near death experiences is really beautiful and helpful. And so I am a big proponent for the clinical research with psilocybin. I think the more somebody knows about it, they're going to set up a nice, comfortable environment. With what I know about ayahuasca, I really hope that stays within the ceremony space up until somebody knows the importance of a shaman, of a medicine man, of the vibration of the space and the work that's being done. It's like putting it in a clinical setting would be like taking a Western medical experience and not cleansing the space, right? Like there's certain parameters that need to be there. And so if you just put somebody in a medical space and give them ayahuasca, you're missing, it's like not having the tools in a Western medicine doctor's office. And so what I do believe is that a lot of times the West, because they put language to things, like they're into logos, I think, therefore I am, they think that science needs to validate other medicines. And just because they're saying, oh, yes, our research is now caught up with other things, doesn't mean it's validating it. It wouldn't make sense to somebody who serves ayahuasca for somebody up north to come down south and say, oh, yes, I validate this. They say, we didn't need your validation. Just like people in the north don't need other medicines to come validate that. And so I think that there can be a level at which people recognize what framework they're in. I have a Western mind, and therefore I understand Western thought and Western philosophies. I'm going to be more open to other medicines and I'm going to move slowly. And so I'm going to move without ego. I'm going to listen first. And I think that goes in all of the directions. And so that's where I hold on that. I love that these medicines are becoming more popular, but that also means that if you're strong and you have a strong voice, start speaking it, because people will take advantage of it in ways that need more sustainability, that needs people to take care of where this medicine comes from.
I think that, these plant teachers are just crying out to humanity. It's time to connect. It's time to connect to source. It's time to connect to nature and bring that vibration back into humanity. It's such an important scenario right now, and in the world we're living where so much disconnection exists. So it's these are our ancient teachers that have been there. These plants are here for us, and it's an ability for us to reconnect through them. Just imagine how the world would be if the Renaissance of the 50s and 60s, where the psychedelic Renaissance was just moving in that direction. If we would have kept continuing in that direction, we'd be in a different society today. So I think that, there's it's always that aspect that humans, we tend to mess things up sometimes, right? Instead of just following through. And I'm always fearful when people are trying to get into the space and trying to monetize things in a way that they start to manipulate and change and process something that should remain natural in its essence. So it's it's something that I still have a question mark around on.
Yeah. And then I hope this makes sense. I also, as we mentioned, we have like an interview process that comes in, and it goes both ways, of course. We care that people have an intention, that they're coming for a beautiful purpose. And I have had the experience where halfway through retreat, somebody said, I'll be honest with you. I only came because ayahuasca was starting to be popular, and at cocktail parties when it got mentioned, I wanted to say I've also experienced it. And she also went through the ceremonies, which means even though her intention wasn't for the healing and expansion of ayahuasca and to receive the medicine, she still drank the medicine and it still did its job. And so a dear friend of mine started talking about if their intention isn't good, I was like, if they drink the medicine, they are going to receive, they are going to get connected to nature, they are going to get connected to something beautiful. And so I also trust in the medicine.
Ooh, this leads me to something that someone said, and I jotted it down beforehand. So she said something, and I want to see if you can explain this. The medicine finds its place within us. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah. So as you can imagine, that's very personal because I have a million different experiences within my life that made me who I am, and ayahuasca could come meet me and see what I need. What do I need? Do I need physical healing? Do I have it will open me up in a way in which the medicine will move and clean and clear, and as well as consciously and subconsciously. And so what she sees in me is will be different than what she sees in Danny and what she sees in you and what she sees in other people.
Yeah.
So you want to
Yeah, I think speaking to that, it's one of the things that ayahuasca does, it brings awareness at the highest level. And it's the ability to self-reflect, self-actualize. And when you have that perception, right, there's an area of the brain that gets activated by these antigenic plant medicines. And that level of the brain allows for that deeper awareness that you didn't have before, that perception, that peripheral that wasn't there, which allows you to navigate on this earth in a different way because you're now paying attention to areas that you weren't before. And that's the beauty of the medicine, the way it meets you there and it finds you there. And it kind of just rips the veil and it allows you to see beyond what we're seeing in today's reality. So there's a lot of things that ayahuasca can provide and will meet you there if you allow it. And I think one of the difficult things for people stepping into ceremony is to surrender into that because we tend to want to hold tight into everything, right? Fear is always kicking in, adrenaline is kicking in, anxiety is kicking in, and those factors don't allow for the medicine to really come in and do the work. And that's why sometimes the way we have our design is 2-3 ceremonies to allow for that deep work to come in place until finally people are at ease and relax, and then the medicine does her incredible work. Some people don't get all the information during that week retreat, and it's for us it's beautiful to witness how sometimes it could be days or weeks or even months, and the two dots connected and the aha moment came in later, and like, wow, the revelation that comes through is quite outstanding and magnificent in that. So it's beautiful for us to kind of witness and perceive this.
Thank you for speaking to that too, because I was always curious why the multiple ceremonies. And when you put it that way, it makes perfect sense to me. Like, especially if I were to go in, I'm nervous. What is this going to be like? It's my first time. And then, having the experience and being able to, go through integration the next day and preparation for the next one, I can see where that would be really beneficial as your fear and anxiety starts to subside, how the medicine could go in and do that deeper work. Thanks for speaking to that. I also appreciate what you guys said earlier about that connection to earth, because that's really been coming up in my work over the last 2 years. And Mother Gaia has been inviting some of my clients to blend with her, and I explain this like a medium blends with spirit by raising their vibration, their frequency up, and then spirit comes and lowers and makes the blend. But now the earth is asking for us to make the blend with her, and it's life changing. And I know that plant medicine is one of those pathways that we can take to have that separation dissolve and become more in a symbiotic relationship with nature, or a part of nature as we are, and not separate from. Yeah. So thank you for speaking to that too. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So I had another question. A friend wanted me to prompt. what if we have this sense of being afraid of where it might lead them?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is a very real fear, and maybe a fear of most people. So as I mentioned before, there are hundreds of anecdotal stories on both sides that somebody did have to go through and they did relive something. And some people receive memories that maybe they had suppressed and they went through them. But here's the difference between choosing not to do something because of that fear. Whatever those walls or blocks that were there to protect you, that are now also maybe preventing you from living fully, being the highest version of yourself, of loving fully, being a vibrant human being, you won't get to the other side of that. You won't get to experience that if you don't face that fear. And so that is a very real fear. And I won't pretend like that doesn't happen. It does. And I would love to share that getting to the other side of that is worth it. It's hard. It is hard. But when we get to the other side of it, it is worth it. And that is where like the beauty and the richness in life we get to hold and feel. And we're doing it with one of the most benevolent and compassionate, non-judgmental ayahuasca is a very beautiful medicine that is a heart opener. So it's hard, but you're held. And then on the other side, some people don't have to relive. Some people don't have to go face new things. They just have those blocks released. They have that armor let go of, and then they feel better. And we don't know which one you're going to be. So we prepare people to go into it with an open heart and an open mind and face it. We've had to face it, and we go through it.
I think it's also important to note that if we are reliving any of these traumas that we've encountered in our past, we're not reliving it in that first person. We're now reliving it in the third person. We're looking at it as an observer. And as an observer, you're not emotionally attached to the sentiment of that anymore, but you're able to observe it. And that's how you're overcoming, because then you can find resolutions around that. So I think that is important to know. And then, of course, the aspects of what the medicine can show you throughout the journey. And it's not always have to be hard. Now, people sometimes, of course, a lot of people speak of the toughness and what they face and what they fear. But most often it could be as blissful as can be, like the self-rediscovery of their inner child and the joy within themselves and just the glory of who they are and the being of what they are and the empowerment that comes back around and the full purpose and guidance of where you're going and where you're heading and how you can now have a path that you can follow because you have clarity. So these are the things that Mother Ayahuasca can provide and can show us the path. And integration is where it's key, because it's easy to forget, right? We can easily go into that one retreat and have all the information and so much data and so much information that comes through, but really is the practice after you leave, the dedication that you're going to give to yourself, the commitment that you're going to give to yourself, and ultimately the changes that are going to be needed in your life. Because if you came from a place of toxicity to come and heal or overcome something, only to go back to that toxicity, well, you know where you're going to end up again. So ultimately, the clear awareness of what you need to do and the changes is now up to you as an individual.
Thank you for speaking to that. And beautiful, all of it. There's so many points I would love to go on. And I'm trying, there's a couple that I want to rewind back to. You had said, and I'm really happy that you said it, because it's the first time I've heard this spoken, that when you go back into the trauma or the experience, it's from the observer. And I think that's something that you don't often hear when you ask someone about their experience. And when I did my psilocybin journey, that was one thing that happened with me. My mom passed away 3 years ago. And when I went back into the healing process, it was from that observer mode where I was back in the corner of the room, looking down on my experience of sitting by my mother's bedside. So it's really interesting that you said that. And I want to thank you for saying that, because that was the first time I had heard that perspective before. And I want to also yes, I've had that experience of being in that observer mode. And it also kind of came out and in my life as sort of reaffirming where I can sit back and be in my observer mode and just let the river of life kind of flow by me without attaching to, the things that are popping up in my conscious awareness as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah. So thank you for speaking to that.
A key to peace in life is that observer mode. Yeah.
And I think it's important to spread that word and to share that, because a lot of people would, have trouble facing their fears. And if their fear means relieving something like that, people would rather shy away from it. So to know that really it's something that you can face it in a way that you'll be able to overcome it, is important. And it's life-changing. It really is. You've been carrying this heavy weight all your years and you've never really faced it, and now you got the opportunity to face it. It really makes all the difference in the world.
And let it go.
Yeah, let it go. And I think we're in a time now where things are coming up to just be let go. We don't have to carry around that baggage anymore. It's up because it's up to be released, and we don't need to revisit it again. And there's so many things and plant medicines and opportunities that we have at our fingertips now to be able to help us to just let it go for good and not have to carry it around anymore. In the beginning, before we started our conversation, you guys had mentioned how we're also able through ayahuasca journey to speak to our relatives. And that's something that happens in mediumship. And that's something that happens with me when I lucid dream with my mother. And can you speak to that a little bit? Because you had mentioned, Danny, too, that when you're in ceremony, when you're on plant medicine or taking plant medicine, experiencing plant medicine, I don't know how to say it, it opens up parts of the brain that we normally don't use. So it opens up more aspects of astral realms and other realms, to us, the liminal space, the theta state. So can you both speak to that as well as we, come to the end of the show?
Yeah. So some of the two areas that I hear the most common is one on the side of hearing from a family member something that they maybe hadn't have heard of in this lifetime. People that didn't have closure with maybe a parent to say like, I love you and I was always proud of you. The connection to be held. So that is one thing that I love hearing after a ceremony, that somebody connected in that way and got to hear the heart of their family members. And then on the other side, frequently it's a forgiveness process. They're going through a process of they didn't get what they needed or wanted, like an apology in this lifetime, and it's holding them back. They're still angry and they don't see a way in which to ever release it because the person is no longer alive to give them what they wanted. And so in that awareness that Danny spoke to, ayahuasca shows you don't need anything outside of yourself. But then there's this beautiful connection that they can see that and feel that, and again, move on and let go forever. Yeah. And I think you probably have more anecdotal stories than I do.
There's areas of that are trapped within the subconscious that people don't even realize, and they've maybe had hardship within their father or their mother in some way or form, and all of a sudden the medicine goes so deep within that subconscious that ultimately they start to surface things that, my father did really love me, and there was actual love, and all of a sudden these walls and barriers starts to kind of break apart and fall apart, and they start to see it differently than what they were maybe conceiving at some point or another. So it does open up the area for astral. It allows for really to kind of dive into the aether and tap into where all the knowledge and wisdom exists for all of the past humans that have the great minds and the geniuses out there. We all have access to it, all of us, and we have that healer inside of us and the ability to tap into it as well. So it's I like to call that these plant teachers are a shortcut, or a cheat. Sarah always never likes when I say this, but it is. It's a tool, it's a shortcut. And I always say, if you've ever wondered or asked why a Buddhist monk surrenders all of its earthly possessions to dedicate themselves to meditation, well, one night of ayahuasca, for instance, just kind of shows you what it feels like to be connected to source, to be connected to that highest realm and altered state of consciousness that you get to tap into. And from that feeling, you can then work. You can really do the practice. And so
to get there without plant medicine.
Exactly. To actually work without it. And I love the fact that you spoke to about the healing, and that the healing takes once. You only have to heal once. You don't have to be constantly going over the healing, but healing takes place once. And when you let it go and move on, you're able to move on, and the world opens up for you after that.
I like that you said too that you can reach these places without. And we hear stories all the time. I've had my experiences as well. Can you both speak to experiences that you've had or experiences that you've witnessed where after you've done these journeys, then there are other things that you can do to reach these places, you know, within yourself again?
Yeah. I am the biggest advocate of meditation, and there's multiple styles of meditation. Out of the top most profound moments of my life, top 5 meditation is one of them. Just the incredible power that we have within, and not power over people, but power for people. What we are capable of doing for ourselves and for others. I received that through meditation. I think your favorite method might be breath work, is non-medicine. And Danny, I'm still in my practice with plant medicine. Danny went through 10 years of dedicated, deep dive with plant medicine, and then it's 10 years without. And he still sits in service. He still goes to ceremony, but his is that direction of, we don't teach people you need plant medicine. This is a tool. Some people, it becomes, maybe they'll come once a year, every couple years, because that is the path that they chose. But this is something that many people will come to one retreat and that's it. That's all they'll need. And now it's, what other non-plant medicine paths do we need? It's, even if we look at Western medication, something should be short-term. If it's long-term, then it's not healing. It's just keeping us in balance. And so we're looking to heal, to say, you need this, now you're done. Now you might have other pains in life, but now you have tools so that it doesn't turn into suffering.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I wanted to share that in my experience, for instance, it's been, you know, a lot of people think that we're only taught 5 senses, and that those are the only senses we're taught of. And one of the things that these plant teachers are able to show and demonstrate to you is that we have many more senses than what we're taught. So when you come into the space and you become attuned, like a fine instrument that gets finely attuned, you're able now to perceive in areas that before you weren't perceiving, right? So these are the aspects that allow you to flow on this earth, right? With that universal flow, and you are able to tap into the synchronicity of life and really gauge on what's moving you through you, right? Through that gut bacteria, which is that one area that your spirit is in constant communication, giving you that gut feeling of things. And these are the things that are awakened in us and come alive in us. And that peripheral perception is what becomes so acute that you're able now to walk life with certainty in every step you make.
I'll add on to that from what we were talking about a moment before, that there's a lot of conversations about healing ancestral trauma. What also comes up for people in ceremony could be their ancestors saying, hey, we also have ancestral power and wisdom. Let me give you some of it.
Nice. That's awesome. If someone has not done ayahuasca, they're hearing about it, they feel like they're being called, but they're not sure. How do you know if you're getting the call or you're not?
Yeah. I'll let you answer how to get the call, and then
Yeah.
take it slow, ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. You know how I spoke about that level of synchronicity kicking in? Well, if it's coming around in your peripherals, you are going to sense it. It will be clear. It'll start drawing you in. And ayahuasca is not for everyone, but when it's calling you for a reason. And that's kind of the aspects that we help people work through their process to get them, like what Sarah says, to their full yes, their full no, or let's wait and see where you're at. And you know, the indicators are there. So when you're sensing the desire to connect, you're going to feel it and you're going to search it. It'll find you. It always does.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I had an experience in 2021 where it kept coming up again over and over and over again. So I started to question. And then my ex-partner went to Costa Rica and had an experience. And beforehand, I'm like, am I to go? And then I have this dream where I'm sitting in front of my computer and there's a woman on the screen and she's like, no.
Yeah.
No. I'm like, okay, there's my answer.
Got your answer.
But it keeps coming up again now. So now I'm like, okay, is it for me? Or is it for someone in my life? Again, we'll see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
The
think
answer is
it's
yes.
Yes, come on down. That's awesome. Is there something that you would like to share if someone is thinking about doing it? What's some advice that you can give them,
Yeah,
as they're contemplating it?
sure.
Yeah, I think that I would do research, and I don't mean do research and look at everyone's experience through
Rabbit
YouTube
holes.
and rabbit holes, but do your research as far as what do you want in a space that would feel safe to you, where you could dive deep, especially for your first time. And then ask a lot of questions. So pick multiple places, set up times for each of them, speak to each of them, and then see which one you resonate, which one like feels good in your system. I tease Danny. Sometimes he tells people to follow their gut. I'm like, people's guts aren't healthy. Follow your intuition, follow your connection, follow your mind and your heart, but don't leave your mind behind either.
Yeah.
If you have a healthy gut, follow your gut.
Yeah, no, I would say just ultimately the inner guidance, right? Your like Sarah says, the intuition will lead you into what feels right. When resonance isn't there, obviously the dissonant aspect will kind of push you away from it. And I think it's important to find a safe start with when you're entering into these altered state of consciousness and places that you're opening up yourself to. I think it's important to find the right place that you feel warm at home and in a safe, guarded environment. And I think that first experience is probably the most important and powerful experience. After that, you'll gain more trust within yourself, the practice and the ability to kind of continue on this imperative.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. This has been such a great conversation, guys. I so appreciate the both of you, and the information that you're bringing to our audience is just fantastic. I always wrap up my show with, what is a jewel of wisdom that you would like to leave our audience with today?
Okay. So I will have mine in alignment with the name of your show, Raise the Vibe, because this is also something that I live in my own life, which is we have choices. We have choices in all the things that we do. I used to live in Los Angeles, and so I had the choice. If I am stuck in traffic, I can sit there upset the whole time, or I could turn on a podcast and listen to it. I can honk at people, or I can say, get in where you fit in, and laugh and keep on going. We have a choice in life, and we have a choice in ceremony. And there's even times where I'm like, okay, this is the situation that I am in. What is the best use of my time? And so that works in ceremony and it works in life. And so I'll do a little nugget to ceremony. The first hour after somebody drinks their cup, potentially not a lot happens. Every once in a while, somebody gets connected in 20, 30 minutes, but most of the time that feels like a very long hour. And somebody can sit there and go, do I feel it? Do I feel it? Is it working? Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have had that burger before I came. Ayahuasca doesn't like me. I didn't do this right. Am I doing something wrong? They could choose to do that, or they could say, what's the best use of my time? I could raise my vibration right now. How do I naturally raise my vibration? I can manifest something beautiful. I can think of my purpose. Why am I here? I can think of people that I love. And now I just raise my vibration so that when the medicine meets me, I'm in a space at which we're coming off together. And that's the same in life. So even not plant medicine, we have a choice in moments to raise your vibration. The number one vibration raiser is music. It's the fastest thing that you can do to raise your vibration. And then there's so many tools, and I think we should use them every day. That's my nugget.
Danny, how about you?
Yeah, I guess in the fast-paced world we're in, where everything is just so rapidly coming onto us, so much distraction, so much disconnection, everything is happening. So it's even hard to recognize what's real, what's not anymore. And this is such an important time right now to really hone in into oneself. So I would say question your reality, question everything, and always go back to the plants and go back to your inner self to be able to find the true guidance and the wisdom that lies within. So just take the time to pause and really question everything that's in front of you.
Love those. Bravo. Those are awesome. Thank you. Beautiful jewels of wisdom. Thank you so much. And now I'm curious. I have one more question, because you're like, it can take an hour for it to kick in, unlike maybe other things. So now I'm curious, one more question before we go. What are the signs? What does it feel like because I know with psilocybin it has the signs, you get a little throat thing and then the visuals start to happen. So how about ayahuasca?
So in the first ceremony, the main goal is that connection. And if anyone is ever asking, am I there? You're not there. It's unequivocal. Like there's, it's a very powerful medicine. And so some of the signs that it might be coming on, it could be you feel a bit vibrational. You could also visually start seeing really beautiful colors. And so that would be some of the beginnings of the connection. There also is, a releasing of your pituitary gland, opening of your pituitary gland. And so what this might look like is tears coming out or a bunch of yawning. I feel like this question is probably better suited for you. I just started talking.
No, but she's right. I guess clear indicators with, especially with psychedelic medicines, is the tearing eyes and the yawning are big, important factors that, we're tapping into that dream state. So the secretion that's taken place there in that gland itself is allowing you. So those are key indicators of when something is getting to kick on. Now, of course, that's with ayahuasca, that's with mushrooms, but with the Bufo experience, that is a very fast acting. There's really no
It's immediate.
It's immediate. No waiting around, no nothing. It is here we go, let's go. So it's that's the beautiful part about that one. It just there's no waiting around for any experience to kick in.
That one sounds intense. Thank you both. That's wonderful. And that's nice. I hope that helps our audience if they had any question, and that certainly helps me. So thank you very much. And awesome. Guys, this has been great. I'm going to say it again. This has been fantastic to have you both on the show. I'm super happy that you contacted me to be on the show. It's been a pleasure to host you. And thank you so much for all the beautiful work that you're doing in the world. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your clients are so lucky to have you, and just to have you also for experiencing and having the courage to step into this work yourself. It's really important. It's really critical, I would say, to really kind of, meet people where they're at based on that experience. I'm happy for you. And I hope you continue exploring as much as you can, these areas.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you both. Yeah, thank you.
you.
And thank you for holding the space. Also, I want to say once more, holding the space before, during, and after, because, from what I've seen my clients experience, that's very important to have that integration and that continued support, so thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Have a beautiful day.
Amazing.
You too. And thanks everyone for joining us. Again, I'm Liz Peterson, and this is Raise the Vibe with Liz. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Thanks, everybody. Bye.